Welcome to Serbia. Here's where the rough part of Europe begins. I was expecting the country to be less smooth. And smooth is the last word you would use for their roads. Yippee! Pay attention to my advice. Highways are cheap here, so don't use avoid all roads option on Google Maps, as you're gonna end up like me, misled to go through the forests, under the bridges, or through the private fields.
Smells like shit.
Right after the border with Hungary, we find this little city of Subotica, which may set the misleading tone for the rest of the country. Well, don't get too excited with its creative and colorful architecture. It's the only city in the country that looks like this. As I continue driving south, Serbia exposed its real face. The upper half of the country is basically covered with least attractive landscape you can imagine. The steppes. Endless flatlands, no nature, no nothing. Rough aesthetics of the cities won't improve the impression either. As I arrive to the second biggest city, Novi Sad, the impression doesn't change much. But as you see, the Seoul city center offers some decent views. Fun fact, Zepter, a well-known international brand with Serbian origins, usually owns either one of the most beautiful or one of the weirdest buildings in the city. Oh, and a thing that you gotta be cautious about. Balkans are famous for a large number of aggressive groups of stray dogs. Here I was eating my dinner on a parking lot when three dogs started running at me with a clear desire to bite my ass off. Once I threw them a fish can, they immediately became my friends and we ended up chilling together. My next stop is the capital, Belgrade. But not far from it, I stopped at an unusual and unknown attraction of Serbia, the Salina Grid. It is a small piece of land which looks literally like a scenery for a horror movie. Dark bushes, scary bald trees, squeaking rusty swings. I highly recommend to have a walk there after a cloudy sunset, when it gets grey and dark. And the Belgrade itself. We got one or two good-looking governmental buildings with monuments, one or two interesting churches, the main street in the city center is pretty decent, and obviously Scepter owns the weirdest looking buildings in the city. Oh, and you can't miss this big fortress towering over the city, offering some nice views. But Belgrade, in majority, is a messy post-Soviet looking metropolis. Are you in a search of solid aesthetic experience? Well, you won't find it here. But the city in the night gets some nice illuminations, and the nightlife is pretty cool. I gotta give it to Belgrade. But the most surprising thing is the amount of fantastic and original art galleries hiding sheer beauty in the dirty corners of this rough city. Some of the works are truly inspiring. But the good impression is quickly countered with the art of a different kind. Omnipresent image of admired Putin. I keep going south. The further I go, the more interesting both flora and fauna becomes. Also, temperatures get interesting. I didn't manage to repair the air conditioning before the trip, so I came up with a little invention to cool down my lower parts. I thought that it's a brilliant idea, until I ended up with a furiously stinging bee in my pants. True story. The attractions in the south are hidden deep in the middle of nowhere, and you need to go off-road to reach them. And as you climb these steep rocky inclines, you keep praying all the time that the car won't break down, because I'm sure no towing or repair service would be available in these inaccessible regions. But you get rewarded with beautiful, pristine and wild nature and views of amazing little towns hidden between the hills. I really wanted to talk to some locals, but Serbians are usually not too friendly. The most beautiful views that Serbia has to offer are in the south and are concentrated around the rivers, like this utterly jaw-breaking landscape with meandering Uvak River, one of the very few views in Europe that literally left me speechless. Later we have a beautiful Drina river with sweet little boat houses. Or this famous tiny house on a rock in the middle of the river, which supposedly is to rent. And finally, here we are in the middle of Mountain Valley. There is a small town of Guca that annually hosts, in my opinion, one of the best festivals in Europe. The Guca Festival of brass bands and Balkan music. 4 days of an insane rave. Obviously, some unusual situation had to happen to me. So in this big crowd of people under the stage, there was one person that really stood out. A girl. She was bold, dancing like mad, in a dress that was constantly falling off her, showing everyone around that she wears no underwear whatsoever. She either consumed a lot of alcohol or drugs, or both, because literally dozens of guys were grabbing her by her naked boobs or ass and exchanging sloppy kisses with her. Yuck. Okay, so the party lasted until like 4 AM, so I went to sleep really late, and I woke up at noon. I crawl out of the car, and what I see? The whole city and the whole camping area around is completely empty. Not a single soul, not a single tent, not a single sound. Just a lot of mess. Anyway, I had nothing to do here, so I packed my stuff and started driving out of the town and out of the valley. Then I noticed 2 hitchhiking girls at the end of the town. The only 2 people that left. And I was the only person that was going in this direction. So I just couldn't ignore them and I had to take them. Yep, you guessed. One of them was the crazy dancing girl. Yeah, but luckily her friend was way more calm and we actually had a pretty cool conversation. So we ate a dinner together in a cool restaurant built over a waterfall and we traveled together for a while. So the devil turned out to be not so evil, so to speak. I continued traveling to the east, in the direction of Bulgaria. Last stop was a really cool Guca Fortress. So yeah, we have another uneven country after Hungary. Basically, you can draw a line in the middle of Serbia and everything above is gonna be unattractive, whereas everything below, pretty awesome. Anyway, I'll be definitely visiting Guca Festival in the future. And you should too. Next, Bulgaria.